Ever wondered what secrets lie beneath the waves, guarding an ancient civilization lost to time? Imagine drifting into a world of unparalleled tranquility, where the whispers of Atlantis guide you to deep relaxation. This journey isn't just about a myth, it's about finding your deepest peace. As you settle into this moment, allow your body to become heavy. Feel the weight of your shoulders sinking into softness. Your breath, already slowing, becomes the rhythm of gentle tides. Tonight, you are not simply resting. You're preparing to descend into a world that exists between memory and dream, between history and imagination. A world that waits in the deepest chambers of the sea, where time moves differently, where peace is not sought, but simply is. Close your eyes now, if you haven't already. Feel the darkness behind your eyelids like the surface of water at dusk. Cool, inviting, endless. Let go of the day that has passed. Let go of the thoughts that circle like birds above the shore. They can wait. They will wait. For now, there is only this, the gentle pull of the tide calling you deeper. Your breath is the only compass you need. In, like the wave approaching. Out, like the wave retreating. Each breath takes you further from the world. You know, and closer to the world you're about to discover. The journey begins not with movement, but with stillness. You are standing on a shore you cannot quite remember reaching. The sand beneath your feet is neither hot nor cold, but perfectly, impossibly comfortable. It molds to the shape of your soles, supporting you completely. Before you stretches an ocean that has no end. The water is the color of twilight, deep indigo bleeding into violet, with threads of silver where the last light touches the surface. The sky above mirrors the sea below, so that you cannot quite tell where one ends and the other begins. There is no wind, no sound but the whisper of water meeting sand. The air tastes of salt and something else, something ancient and green, like the first breath of the world. You take a step forward. The water welcomes your feet with a coolness that travels up through your body, washing away tension you didn't know you carried. Another step. The water rises to your ankles, then your calves, lapping gently against your skin. There is no fear, only curiosity, only peace. The ocean floor slopes gently downward, inviting you deeper. You walk forward, feeling the sand shift and settle beneath each step. The water rises past your knees, past your waist, cradling you in its embrace. You notice now that the water is not dark as it seemed from shore. It glows faintly, as if lit from within by some distant, benevolent star. Tiny particles of light drift through the liquid like reverse snow, rising instead of falling, dancing in slow spirals around your body. The water reaches your chest now. Your arms float at your sides, weightless. You feel your body becoming lighter, as if the ocean is slowly erasing gravity itself, freeing you from all the invisible weights you carry. One more step, and the water rises to your shoulders. You take a deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken all day, and as you exhale, you allow yourself to sink. The transition is seamless. One moment you are walking, and the next you are floating, suspended in the luminous water. Your hair drifts around your face like seaweed in a gentle current. Your body turns slowly, effortlessly, until you are facing down, looking into the depths. And that is when you see it. Far below, so far, that at first you think you are imagining it. There is a light, not the scattered phosphorescence of the water around you, but something more deliberate, something that pulses slowly, like a heartbeat, like a breath, like a memory trying to surface. You begin to descend. There's no need to swim. The ocean itself seems to carry you downward, as if it has been waiting for you, as if it knows where you need to go. The pressure does not build. Instead, you feel increasingly weightless, increasingly free. The light below grows brighter, and now you can see that it is not a single source, but many. Hundreds of lights, thousands, scattered across the ocean floor, like a city seen from an airplane at night. They pulse in unison, creating a rhythm that matches the beating of your own heart. You descend through layers of water, each one a different shade of blue. Sapphire gives way to cobalt, cobalt to indigo, indigo to a blue so deep it is almost black. And yet somehow you can still see the particles of light that drift through the water have multiplied, creating a soft, even glow that illuminates everything without casting shadows. Strange and beautiful creatures glide past you in the depths. Jellyfish the size of dinner plates, their translucent bells trailing long, gossamer tentacles that glow pale green, schools of fish that move as one organism, their silver scales flashing in synchronized waves. A sea turtle as large as a car, ancient and unhurried, its shell covered in a garden of soft coral and waving anemones. They do not flee from you. They do not approach. They simply exist alongside you, fellow travelers in this underwater realm, each following their own mysterious purpose through the deep. The water grows warmer as you descend. Not hot, but pleasantly warm, like a bath drawn to the perfect temperature. It soothes muscles you didn't realize were tense. It loosens knots in your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. You feel yourself unwinding, unfurling, becoming as fluid as the water that surrounds you. And then, gradually, the ocean floor rises to meet you. Your feet touch down on something smooth and solid, not sand, but stone, marble, perhaps, or something like it, cool and polished beneath your soles. The impact is gentle, barely noticeable, as if you weigh no more than a feather. You stand on the edge of an ancient road. The path is wide, broad enough for 12 people to walk abreast. It is paved with great slabs of white stone that glow faintly in the bioluminescent light of the deep. The edges of each stone are perfectly fitted, so precisely joined that you cannot slide even a fingernail between them. On either side of the road, columns rise from the ocean floor. They are massive, as thick around as ancient oak trees, carved from single pieces of stone. Many are broken, sheared off halfway to their capitals, ending in jagged crowns. Others stand complete, still supporting fragments of what must once have been magnificent structures. Coral has claimed much of the stone. Pink and orange formations bloom across the columns like lichen, creating gardens in the air. Sea fans wave gently in currents you cannot feel, their delicate branches spreading like the fingers of open hands. Small fish dart in and out of the coral, flashes of yellow and blue against the muted pastels. You begin to walk along the road, your movement slow and dreamlike in the water. Each step takes longer to complete than it would on land, but there is no impatience in you. Time has become irrelevant. There is only this moment, stretching on forever, and you are content to exist within it. The road curves gently to the right, following the contour of what must once have been a hillside. As you walk, more structures emerge from the gloom. To your left, a building with walls still partially intact, its windows dark openings that seem to hold their own smaller darknesses within. To your right, a fountain, its central sculpture worn smooth by centuries of water, but still recognizable as human in form. A woman with her arms raised, as if in offering or supplication. Small lights float among the ruins. At first you think they are fish, but as one drifts closer, you see that it is something else entirely. A sphere of pure light, no larger than your palm, hovering in the water with no visible means of support. It pulses gently, its glow strengthening and fading in that same slow rhythm that seems to permeate everything in this place. More of them appear as you continue walking. They float between the columns, drift through the empty windows, congregate in the shells of broken buildings. They are like lanterns left by inhabitants who stepped away only moments ago, though you know that those inhabitants, if they ever existed, have been gone for longer than memory. The road opens into a plaza. It is vast, this square, easily the size of a city block. The floor is a mosaic, an intricate pattern of colored stones depicting scenes you can barely make out through the layer of sand and algae that has accumulated over the millennia. You can see fragments, a ship with a curved prow, a figure with a crown, a tree with the roots that seem to become waves. Around the edges of the plaza, buildings stand in various states of decay. Some are little more than foundations, outlines of walls that hint at the structures they once supported. Others rise 2 or 3 stories, their facades still adorned with carvings too eroded to decipher fully, though you can make out repeating motifs, spirals, waves, circles within circles. At the center of the plaza stands a temple. It is the most intact structure you have seen and the most beautiful. Built on a raised platform, it is reached by a wide staircase that climbs in gentle stages to the entrance. The stairs are flanked by statues, great stone guardians that have weathered into abstract forms, their features smoothed away but their presence still commanding, still watchful. The temple itself is supported by a colonnade of fluted columns, 6 across the front, and the spaces between them are filled with carved panels that still retain traces of the paint that once colored them. Gold leaf glimmers faintly in the crevices. Blue and green pigments cling stubbornly to protected corners. Above the entrance, a triangular pediment contains a relief sculpture. Though time and water have softened its details, you can still make out the general composition. Figures arranged in a scene of ceremony or celebration, their arms raised, their faces turned toward a central element that might be a sun or a star, or something else, a symbol whose meaning has been lost. You climb the stairs slowly, one hand trailing along the stone balustrade. The surface is silky smooth, polished by centuries of flowing water. Small sea creatures have made homes in the crevices, tiny crabs that scuttle away at your approach, fish no bigger than your fingertip that dart into shadows. At the top of the stairs, you pause at the threshold of the temple. The interior is dimly lit, illuminated only by the ambient glow of the water and a few of those floating orbs of light. They drift through the space like lazy fireflies, their reflections multiplying in the polished stone of the floor. You step inside. The temple is a single large chamber, open to the water above where the roof has long since collapsed or dissolved. Columns line the walls, and between them are niches that once held statues or offerings. Most are empty now, their contents claimed by time or tides or treasure seekers, but one niche near the back still holds something. You drift closer, your curiosity pulling you forward. It is a bowl carved from a single piece of dark stone, obsidian, perhaps, or jade. It sits on a pedestal, perfectly centered in its niche, and it is filled with light. Not the soft, pulsing light of the orbs, but something brighter, more concentrated. It is as if someone has captured a piece of the sun and placed it here, in this temple, in this niche, for you to find. You reach out, hesitating for just a moment before your fingers make contact with the rim of the bowl. The stone is warm. The light within seems to recognize your touch, brightening for a moment, then settling back to its steady glow. Images begin to form in the light. They are not clear, not photographs or films, but impressions, feelings given visual form. You see a city on a hillside, towers of white stone rising above gardens of impossible green. You see ships in a harbor, their sails billowed with wind, merchants calling out their wares on crowded docks. You see libraries filled with scrolls, observatories where robed figures track the movements of stars. You see a civilization at its peak, a culture that valued knowledge and beauty, that built not just for utility but for wonder. And then the images shift. The sky darkens, the earth trembles, the towers that seem so permanent begin to crack, to crumble, to fall. The sea rises, higher and higher, swallowing the docks, then the lower city, then the upper reaches. People flee. But there is nowhere to flee to. The water claims everything. But there is no horror in these images, no fear. Instead, there is a strange sense of acceptance, even of peace, as if the people of this place understood that all things must end, that all towers must eventually fall, that the only permanence is in the impermanence itself. The light in the bowl fades gradually, and you are once again standing in the quiet temple, surrounded by columns and empty niches and the patient water. You withdraw your hand from the bowl and turn to leave, but as you move toward the entrance, you notice something you missed before. On the wall beside the doorway, partially obscured by a curtain of kelp, is an inscription. The letters are worn, barely legible, but you can make out a few words in a language you should not be able to read but somehow understand. What is lost in the world is found in the deep. What is forgotten above is remembered below. Peace is not in the staying, but in the letting go. You read the words 3 times, committing them to a memory that feels older than your own. Then you step back through the entrance onto the platform at the top of the stairs. From this vantage point, you can see more of the sunken city. It spreads out before you, following the contours of hills and valleys now submerged. The glowing road continues on past the plaza, winding through neighborhoods of smaller buildings toward what might once have been palace or fortress on a distant rise. But you do not feel compelled to explore further. Something in you recognizes that this is not a place to be mapped or catalogued. It is a place to be felt, to be absorbed, to be remembered in the bones rather than the mind. You descend the temple stairs slowly, your feet finding each step with unconscious precision. At the bottom, you pause once more in the plaza, standing among the floating lights and the patient columns. The city is not empty, you realize. It has never been empty. It is full of presence, Not ghosts, exactly, but something like them. Echoes of all the people who once walked these streets, whose hands shaped these stones, whose voices filled these spaces with laughter and argument and song. They are here still, in the way the light moves, in the patterns the fish trace through the water, in the deep silence that is not absence but fullness beyond sound. You close your eyes for a moment, and you can almost hear them. Not words, but something underneath words. The frequency of human presence. The vibration of lives lived fully and then released. When you open your eyes, one of the light orbs is hovering directly in front of you, close enough to touch. It pulses its gentle rhythm, and you find your breath matching its pattern. Slow expansion, slow contraction, a meditation made visible. The orb begins to move, drifting away from you toward the far side of the plaza. It pauses, as if waiting. You follow. It leads you down a narrow street, barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Buildings rise on either side, their walls still bearing traces of the plaster that once covered them. Some have paint, ochre and terracotta, faded to pale shadows of their former intensity. Doorways open onto empty rooms where furniture has long since dissolved. Through one window, you glimpse the remains of a hearth, and you imagine the light of fires that warm this place, the smell of cooking, the sound of a family gathered at the end of the day. The orb leads you deeper into the residential quarter, through a maze of streets that turn and branch with no pattern you can discern. But you are not lost. You could not be lost here. The city holds you gently, guiding your steps even as you follow the light. You emerge into a garden, or what was once a garden. The walls that enclosed it still stand, though they are draped now in curtains of kelp and seagrass. The beds where flowers or vegetables once grew are visible only as rectangular shapes in the sand. But new life has claimed this space, transforming it into something just as beautiful, if different. Coral formations bloom where roses might have grown. Anemones wave from what might have been herb borders, their tentacles swaying in rhythm with invisible currents. The garden is full of movement and color. Purple sea urchins nestled in corners, orange starfish clinging to walls, schools of translucent shrimp that hover like clouds above the beds. In the center of the garden stands a tree. It is petrified, turned to stone by the passage of time and the chemistry of the sea. Its trunk is thick, its branches still reaching upward despite being rooted in silence, and salt water coral has colonized every surface, adding new colors to the gray stone, soft pinks, bright yellows, deep purples. Small fish make their homes in the hollows where leaves once grew. The light orb circles the tree once, twice, 3 times, then settles among the branches, becoming part of the constellation of lights that glow within the coral. You approach the tree and place your palm against its trunk. The stone is cool and rough beneath your hand. You can feel the texture of bark, preserved perfectly, every groove and ridge intact. For a moment, you feel a connection to this tree that transcends language or logic. It was once alive, rooted in soil, drawing sustenance from sun and rain. Now it is something else, not dead exactly, but transformed. It has become a home, a haven, a sculpture created by time itself. Is this not what happens to all of us? We grow, we reach toward the light, and then, eventually, we transform into something different. We become memory. We become story. We become the foundation on which new life builds. You remain with the tree for a time that might be minutes or might be hours. Time has no meaning here. There is only the slow pulse of the ocean, the patient glow of the lights, the weightless freedom of floating. When you finally step back from the tree, you notice that the garden has filled with more of the light orbs. They float among the coral formations, drift along the walls, cluster around the branches of the stone tree. They have gathered to witness your moment of understanding. Or perhaps they have been here all along, and you are only now aware enough to see them. You bow to the tree, a gesture that feels appropriate though you cannot say why. And then you turn to leave the garden. The orb that guided you here has disappeared, merged indistinguishably with the others. But you do not need a guide any longer. You have learned to see the patterns in this place, to feel the currents that flow through it, to trust the gentle pull that moves you from moment to moment. You drift through more streets, past more buildings, through more plazas. Each space reveals new wonders. A building whose walls are covered in frescoes that have survived the centuries, scenes of daily life, of work and play, of ceremonies whose purposes you can only guess at. A fountain where water once flowed from the mouths of carved dolphins, now silent but still graceful. An amphitheater where tiers of stone seats face a circular stage, and you imagine the performances that once filled this space with drama and music and poetry. Everywhere, life has reclaimed the ruins. Coral and kelp, anemones and urchins, fish and crustaceans. They have woven themselves into the city's fabric, creating a hybrid space that belongs equally to human artistry and natural processes. The city is more alive now than it might have been when people walked its streets. You come to the edge of the city, where the last buildings give way to open ocean floor. The road continues on for a short distance, then simply ends, its final paving stones cracked and displaced, as if the earth itself opened and swallowed what came next. Beyond this point, there is only sand and the dark water of the deep. But looking out across that emptiness, you do not feel sadness or loss. Instead, you feel a curious sense of completion, as if the city ended exactly where it was meant to end, as if every stone that fell into its perfect place. You turn back to face the city, and from this vantage point, you can see it in its entirety. The temple on its hill, the plaza with its mosaic floor, the winding streets and clustered buildings, all of it glowing softly in the accumulated light of thousands of orbs. It looks like a constellation fallen to earth, like a map of stars drawn in stone and coral. And you understand, finally, what this place is. It is not a lost city. It is not a ruin. It is a memory made physical, a dream that someone dreamed so deeply that it became real. It exists in the space between was and is, between history and myth, between sleeping and waking. Atlantis is not a place you can find on a map. It is a state of mind, a quality of consciousness, a way of seeing the world that recognizes beauty in both creation and dissolution, that finds peace not in permanence, but in the endless cycle of transformation. You have found Atlantis, and Atlantis has found you. And in finding each other, something has changed. A weight you did not know you carried has been lifted. A question you did not know you were asking has been answered. The water around you begins to shimmer. The lights pulse faster, then slower, then faster again, as if the city itself is breathing. And you realize that you are rising. You are not swimming, not consciously ascending. but the ocean is gently returning you to the world above. The city recedes below you, growing smaller and dimmer, its lights becoming stars, then pinpricks, then finally fading into the uniform darkness of the deep. You rise through layers of blue, each shade lighter than the last. Indigo becoming cobalt, cobalt becoming sapphire. The pressure changes so gradually you barely notice it. Fish swim past, fewer now, swimming upward with you or crossing your path on their own mysterious errands. The water grows cooler as you approach the surface. The warmth of the deep gives way to the crisp freshness of the upper ocean. You can see the surface above you now, a barrier of light and shadow, silver and grey, solid and yet permeable. Your head breaks through into air. The transition is seamless, unmarked by gasping or struggle. One moment you are underwater, and the next you are floating on the surface, looking up at a sky filled with more stars than you have ever seen. The moon hangs low and enormous, its light painting a path across the water straight to where you float. The ocean supports you completely. You do not need to tread water or swim. You simply float, cradled in salt and starlight, your body rocking gently with the swells. You can still feel the city below you, not physically, but in some other way, in your chest perhaps, or in the space behind your thoughts. It exists within you now, just as you exist within it. The boundary between inner and outer has dissolved, leaving only a sense of profound connection. The night is perfectly quiet. No wind disturbs the surface of the water. No sound reaches you from any distant shore. There is only the gentle lap of small waves, the whisper of your own breath, the slow and steady beating of your heart. You close your eyes and let yourself drift. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. The ocean will carry you where you need to go. The current knows the way. Images from the city float through your mind. The temple with its bowl of light, the stone tree in its garden, the inscription on the wall. Peace is not in the staying, but in the letting go. You are letting go now. Of the day, of your worries, of the tension that lives in your shoulders and jaw, of the need to control, to plan, to figure everything out. You are surrendering to the wisdom of water, which knows that the path of least resistance is not weakness, but intelligence. That flexibility is stronger than rigidity, that the most powerful force on earth is the one that appears most gentle. Your breathing has become so slow and regular that you are barely conscious of it. Each inhale is a gift. Each exhale is a release. Between the breaths is a space of perfect stillness, and that space is growing, expanding, becoming a vast and peaceful emptiness in which you can rest. The stars above you begin to blur, their sharp points softening, merging with the darkness between them. Or perhaps your eyes are simply closing, your body finally ready to complete its journey from waking to sleeping, from consciousness to dreams. You feel yourself sinking, but not into water this time, into softness, into comfort, into a bed that has been waiting patiently for you, in a room that is yours, in a world that is safe and kind. The ocean is still with you though. You can feel it beneath you, hear it in the distance, sense its presence at the edges of your awareness. It has given you its gift, the memory of Atlantis, the feeling of weightlessness, the understanding that peace is not something to be achieved, but something to be surrendered to. You are drifting now in that space between awake and asleep, that liminal realm where thoughts become dreams and dreams become rest. The city is still there, below the surface of consciousness, glowing softly with its thousand lights. It will be there when you need it, waiting patiently in the deep places, a sanctuary you can return to any time you close your eyes and allow yourself to sink. The last thing you are aware of, before awareness itself dissolves into sleep, is a sense of profound gratitude for the journey you have taken, for the city you have discovered, for the peace that has settled into your bones like ballast, stabilizing you, centering you, allowing you to rest in the certainty that all is well, has always been well, will always be well. The ocean rocks you gently, and you rock with it. And somewhere in that rhythm, in that endless cycle of rise and fall, of wave and trough, of breathing in and breathing out, you let go completely. You sleep. And in your sleep, you dream of a city beneath the waves, its streets paved with light, its buildings crowned with coral, its silence deeper and more eloquent than any sound. You dream of a stone tree that was once alive, that is still alive in a different way, that has become a home for creatures that swim through its branches where birds once nested. You dream of the inscription on the wall, and you understand it now, not with your mind, but with something deeper. Peace is not in the staying. It is not in holding on, in preserving, in trying to keep things as they are. Peace is in the letting go, in allowing change, in trusting the process of transformation, in recognizing that everything that falls becomes something else, that every ending is also a beginning, that death and birth are the same motion viewed from different sides. The dream deepens. You are no longer swimming through the city, but walking through it, your feet solid on its marble streets, your lungs breathing water as easily as air. The people of Atlantis are here, visible now, translucent as jellyfish, but present nonetheless. They nod to you as you pass, their faces serene, their eyes knowing. They are not mourning their lost city. They are celebrating its transformation. They are showing you that there is joy in release, beauty in dissolution, grace in the act of becoming something new. One of them approaches you, a woman with long hair that floats around her like seaweed, with eyes the color of deep water. She places her hand over your heart, and you feel a warmth spreading from that point, radiating outward until it fills your entire body. She speaks, but not with words. Her message arrives complete and whole, planted directly in your understanding. You carry the city now. It lives in you. Wherever you go, it goes. You are its memory. You are its voice. You are proof that it existed and still exists and will always exist as long as there are those who can find peace in the deep. The dream begins to fade. The figures of Atlantis grow more transparent, more distant. The city itself becomes hazy, as if viewed through fog or tears. But the feeling remains, the warmth in your chest, the lightness in your limbs, the deep and abiding peace that has settled into you like a stone sinking to the ocean floor. You are aware, dimly, of your body in your bed, of the weight of blankets, the softness of your pillow, the quiet darkness of your room. But you are also still in Atlantis, walking its streets, swimming its waters, resting in its gardens. You exist in both places simultaneously, and this does not feel strange or impossible. It feels right, natural, true. Your breath has become so slow and deep that the pauses between inhale and exhale stretch on for what feels like minutes. In those pauses, There is no thought, no sensation, no awareness of self or other. There is only peace, pure and undiluted, a peace so complete that it requires nothing, desires nothing, changes nothing. You are that peace. You have always been that peace. The journey to Atlantis was simply a way of remembering what you already knew, of finding what was never lost, of returning to a home you never left. The night deepens around you. The hours pass, marked only by the shifting of shadows, the movement of the moon across the sky, the slow wheeling of stars in their ancient patterns, but you are unaware of time's passage. You have slipped beneath its surface, into a place where past and future have no meaning, where there is only the eternal present, the endless now. And in that now, you rest, completely, utterly, profoundly. Your body repairs itself, cells dividing and healing, muscles relaxing, systems recalibrating to their optimal states. Your mind processes the experiences of the day, sorting memories, consolidating learning, preparing you for tomorrow's challenges. But you are unaware of these processes. You are below them, beneath them, resting in a stratum of consciousness that is deeper than dreams, quieter than thought. If someone could see you now, they would see only a person sleeping peacefully, breathing slowly, face relaxed, limbs arranged in comfortable surrender. They would not see the city beneath the waves that glows in your dreaming mind. They would not know that you are walking marble streets, swimming through temples, resting in gardens where stone trees bloom with coral. They would not know that you have found Atlantis. But you know, and that knowledge, that memory, that feeling, it will remain with you when you wake. Perhaps not as a clear recollection of images and events, but as a quality of being, a depth of peace, a trust in the processes of change and transformation that govern all things. You will wake tomorrow feeling rested in a way that goes beyond the physical. You will feel restored not just in body but in spirit, as if something in you that was fragmented has been made whole. Something that was tense has been loosened. Something that was forgotten has been remembered. And when life brings its inevitable challenges, its stresses and sorrows and complications, you will have a place to return to. Not by traveling, but simply by closing your eyes, by taking a deep breath, by allowing yourself to sink beneath the surface of daily consciousness into the depths where the city waits, eternal and unchanging in its constant transformation. Atlantis is yours now. It exists for you, in you, as you. It is the part of you that cannot be disturbed by the storms of life, that remains calm regardless of the chaos on the surface. It is your bedrock, your foundation, your sanctuary. The dream continues, but even the dream has quieted now. You are no longer walking through the city, but simply being there, a presence among presences, a light among lights, a piece among the pieces that fill that place. And gradually, even that fades. The city recedes into the depths of your unconscious mind, still glowing softly, still waiting patiently, but no longer demanding your attention. It has given you what you came for. It has shared its gifts. Now it allows you to rest completely, without even the gentle stimulus of dreams. You sink into the deepest layer of sleep, where there are no images, no narratives, no sense of self or time or place, where consciousness itself dissolves into something prior to consciousness, something that exists before thought and beneath thought, the vast and silent ground from which all experience arises and to which all experience returns. Here, in this deepest place, you are not you. You are not anything that can be named or described. You are simply rest itself, peace itself, being itself. And you remain in this state for hours, your body and mind held in the embrace of the deepest healing sleep, restored and renewed by forces older than civilization, wiser than thought. The night passes. The stars complete their slow rotation. The moon sets and the sky begins to lighten in the east. Though you do not see it, you are still resting in that place beyond dreams, that sanctuary of absolute peace. When you wake, and you will wake, gently and naturally, when your body and mind are ready, you will carry something of Atlantis with you, a memory of marble streets beneath a dark ocean, a feeling of weightlessness and freedom, a sense of peace that runs deeper than circumstance, that remains unshaken by the surface turbulence of daily life. You will remember, perhaps not clearly, but in the way one remembers childhood or a half-forgotten song, that you once walked through a city beneath the waves, that you touched a stone tree in a submerged garden, that you read words on a temple wall that changed something in you, that opened a door you did not know was closed. Peace is not in the staying, but in the letting go. And you will understand in a way that transcends understanding, that this is true not just for ancient cities, but for all things. For the day that has passed and the day that is coming, for the relationships that change and the plans that shift, for the person you were and the person you are becoming. You will understand that the only way to preserve anything, love, peace, joy, beauty, is to let it go, to allow it to flow through you rather than clinging to it, to trust that what is real will remain and what is illusion will dissolve, and that this is exactly as it should be. But all of this is still to come. For now, you are simply sleeping, deeply and peacefully, cradled by darkness and silence and the infinite kindness of a rest that asks nothing of you, demands nothing from you, requires only that you surrender to it completely. And you have surrendered. You let go somewhere between the surface and the deep, between waking and sleeping, between the world you know and the world you discovered. You released your grip on consciousness and allowed yourself to sink, and the city rose up to meet you, and now the city sustains you, holds you, keeps you safe in its marble arms. Sleep now, sleep deeply,